So welcome to another Trusted Teachers video. This is all about us being the support that we needed when we started out teaching, giving advice and some resources that can be used. Joining me today is Mr. B. Are you well, Mr. B?
Yep, doing well, thank you.
So today's short lesson is going to be on computer structure, the basic layout of computer systems. So we will look at the basic structure of a computer system. Normally that would take in these 5 areas: input devices, output devices, memory, storage, and the processor. We won't get through all of that today. We'll concentrate on the input and output devices and the storage devices as well. So I'm going to dive straight in and ask you a question, Mr. B. I'm going to talk about computer input devices. Could you maybe give me a couple of input devices before we get started?
I think the most obvious ones that come to mind are the mouse. So it could be a traditional mouse that you would picture. Also, obviously, you get the kind of tracking pads now as well.
Yeah.
And the keyboard is just used in a various different things, laptops, phones.
Absolutely.
Keyboards and mouse, I'd say, would be the most obvious ones.
Yeah, that's the classic input devices. We do think of keyboards and mice as input devices. I'm going to come back to this diagram in a few moments. So there's some of our input devices where, yeah, we've got a mouse, over 40 years old. It's been around a long time. We've got a touch screen. Touch screens are becoming more common in terms of input devices to input instructions and commands into various computing devices such as mobile phones and tablets. A webcam. In these days of distance and blended learning, obviously webcams have become very important for picking up the video so that we can communicate online. As you mentioned, Mr. B, the keyboard's a classic input device. We now have virtual keyboards on phones and laptop and tablets as well. I put speakers in there. That's maybe the odd one out. We tend to think of a speaker as an output device. Why would it be on this slide as an input device, Mr. B?
Because the modern technologies like Google Home and Amazon Echo, they have a speaker built in. Sorry, a microphone built in.
Yeah.
Which allows you to give commands like Alexa, 5 minutes till I make my dinner. Alexa, play Robbie Williams. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Absolutely, Mr. B, well done. There's a microphone in there, and that's why we think of a speaker as an output device. It's on this slide as an input device, but we're looking at the microphone here. Okay, that was input devices. Let's have a look at output devices. Oh, I put the printer up there already, Mr. B, but could you maybe give me another 1 or 2 output devices?
Like a speaker in terms of playing music.
Yeah.
It could be an old-fashioned fax machine it could be you've got a printer there. Could be something even more modern, like a 3D printer.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Anything else? Interactive screen, like a smartboard.
That's a great one. I'll come to that in just a moment. Let's have a wee look at what ones we've got here. We've got the traditional monitors, which you'll find on laptops and desktops, and obviously mobile phones and tablets. You know, they've got the screens on them as well. There's your interactive whiteboard. Although we think of it as an input device where we might touch on different parts of the board to make something happen, it still functions as a screen, as an output device. Soundbars, speakers have really kind of changed a lot in the past number of years. And we use soundbars to give us a high quality output from computing devices. So they've become quite popular. There we have now our speakers functioning as a speaker, as an output device that will output sound to us. And a projector, which, you know, is maybe a wee bit old school now, but we still see lots of them in use. That was our output devices. There are more. These slides, the input devices and output devices, don't cover all. It's just to give us a flavour and a couple of examples.
I really like the fourth one.
Beg your pardon?
I really like the fourth example.
What was that? The soundbar?
It's a pretty sound bar, one might say.
A pretty sound, but was that a pun there, Mr. B? Well done, you. Right, I think we should move on to storage. Storage devices. What do you think I'm talking about here, Mr. B, when I mention storage devices?
Just places where you can store information. So it might be like a shared drive within a business. It might be a USB stick, which stands for Universal Serial Bus.
Oh,
Could
well
be
done. Good
a
knowledge.
Google Drive, which we use quite a lot.
Yeah, so let's have a wee look. We've got the traditional magnetic hard drives, which you still find in desktop computers. The death of the hard drive has been predicted for quite some time, but it's still with us at the moment. What I've done in this image here, the second image, I've shown the traditional magnetic hard drive, but I've shown a solid state drive, and solid state drives are really taking over the function of the traditional hard drive. They're more robust, they're faster to access the information that's on it, they use less power, so they're environmentally more friendly. So they are taking over. They're still a wee bit expensive, but I think that's what will be replacing most of our traditional hard drives. I've shown an external drive there. It could be solid state, it could be magnetic, but it's solid state storage that you'll find in tablets and phones. I've shown a DVD there. DVDs and CDs as storage devices are kind of going the way of the floppy disk. I don't think we'll see them around for too much longer. This one here, Mr. B, that you mentioned, do you recognise that?
It's a USB stick, a Yoda one just like it.
Yes, it's a USB stick. I was hoping you were going to say R2D2 when I asked if you recognised it, but you're quite. You identified it as a USB stick, which are highly portable and very handy storage devices. I've also got on cloud storage there as well, because that's been a big move to cloud storage recently over the past few years. And indeed, you can get up to 15 gigabytes of storage from Google free. Of course, Apple and Microsoft and Dropbox, these are all cloud storage where you save your data online with one of these organizations. They're responsible for security and the storage of it, and you can access it from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. So that's
amazing the amount of storage that Google Drive's got compared to the other ones, isn't it?
It really is. When you look at Dropbox, 2 gigabytes free, Google give you 15. So yeah, you have to kind of shop around as well. If you need more storage, you would pay for it. But there's great.
I've got a wee question, Mr. C. I've never owned an external hard drive. I've just used a pen drive and more recently Google Drive.
Yes.
Why would somebody use an external hard drive? Is it just for additional storage, really?
Yes, it was the short answer was capacity. They gave it a much higher capacity. But what we've seen with the development of just pen drives, we're up to terabytes of storage on a pen drive. The external hard drives, again, are probably not going to be around for much longer because the pen drive can store so much data in a smaller, more portable area and cheaper as well. So yeah, it was always to do with the capacity, but that's been diminished, that advantage now with what's happening with pen drives. I'll mention the processor. This is for a different lesson. This is for a future lesson. The central processing unit. There's 3 key areas we need to look at, but we just don't have time in this lesson. And that's true of memory. Memory is really important to a computer system. There's different types of memory, RAM and ROM, terms I'm sure you'll remember, Mr. B. But again, that's something for another lesson. I'm just going to take us back, if you can bear with me just a few minutes, back through some of these slides, because there was one slide in particular that I think if I just go to that and then I can take us back, that'll be quicker. This slide here, which is a nice slide, just really summarizes what we've been talking about today. The input devices that let us input information into the computer system, the output devices which allow us to get information out of a computer system, and the storage devices that lets us store all our data. The processor and memory will be looked at in future lessons. So I'll just run through this very quickly as we come to the end. That's the input devices we identified. It's not an exhaustive list. You might think about a games controller. That's a great input device as well that we use frequently. Output devices, again, it's not an exhaustive list, but it covers most of the bases there and it gives you good examples. And then the storage devices, which is where we store our programs and data permanently, long term. Processors and memory are for future lessons. And this has been trusted teachers, being the support that we needed when we began teaching. So thanks for watching today.